Hi there, Scott Hamilton, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review for your ears. Going to be talking about the 2003 movie, Undead. I will get into spoilers later in the review, but in the beginning I will just give you a little about it, then you should go check it out. This is a low-budget Australian movie directed by the Behringer brothers. They went on and did Daybreakers, that very strange vampire movie. They did a great science fiction movie called Predestination. They also did Jigsaw and Winchester. And I really can't find anything ever since. Jigsaw was just okay, although it showed their inventiveness. And Winchester was actually pretty good, but didn't bring it home. Didn't really stick the landing. So I don't know if they're going to make anything else what they're working on or whatever, but this is where I started with my fandom, and I give them credit for Daybreakers and Predestination, at least. That movie, wow. So I originally had this on DVD. I bought it because I read a review somewhere that said it was inventive and interesting, and I've always really liked it because it's not what you expect. It's basically a zombie movie that becomes something else. Again, it was made for $1 million Australian, which works out to about $750,000 US. Didn't spend a whole lot of money on it. The special effects are a little low res, if you will. Not bad. There are plenty of gore effects, though, and those are all done very realistically. So I got to give them props for using actual makeup effects for the gore. Nice job. There's punches through skulls that pull brains out and things like that. All very well done. Those special effects, great. So if this is the beginning of those two directors, these German directors who are working in Australia, or at least they're from Germany, to me it showed a little Peter Jackson inventiveness, a lot of Sam Raimi inventiveness, especially watching it now. I recently imported a Blu-ray. I did not know it was available on an all-region Blu-ray. I've still got a beat-up DVD copy I've had for, it must be almost 20 years now. The movie came out in 2003. I don't know when I got the DVD, probably 2005 maybe. Had it for a while. And what I've always liked about the movie, pacing issues aside and a few other issues, was that it just becomes a completely different movie by the end. And it's kind of shocking. I don't think they completely stick the landing, but considering the budget involved, the level of the acting involved, the cinematography and everything else, they did an amazing job for 1 million Australian. So we'll get into some light spoiler territory that will lead into some major spoiler territory. If you want to see a zombie movie with some great practical effects and some okay CG effects, check it out. You might like it. It's a little long for what it is. It's only 104 minutes, but they probably have a little more of, a little over an hour and 15 minutes worth of story that they stretch out there. So the movie starts with an asteroid hitting something in space and the pieces of it flying into Earth's atmosphere, and they start raining down on this small town in Australia. People are killed. One grandmotherly type character is killed in the background, and then she stands back up as a zombie. Anybody that comes in contact with these meteorites becomes a zombie, and zombies start appearing everywhere. We meet our main characters. They're running from zombies. That's how the thing starts. And they meet this guy in a cowboy hat and with a 3-shotgun rig, which is interesting. And he seems to know a little bit more about what's going on, that this is the end of the world. That's where the spoiler or the non-spoiler talk will end. Long and the short of it is you get a normal zombie movie for the first half, and then they try and get out of town. And there's a barrier. They can't get out of town. Then they start seeing these hooded figures and seeing people fly up into the sky, and there's the acid rain that's falling, and none of it makes sense until all of a sudden they start realizing that the acid rain isn't really burning them, and the rain is a cure for the infection, and the hooded figures are aliens, and the aliens have come to stop the undead infection. Yep, that's it becomes a sci-fi movie. They have floated all of the bodies up over the clouds and protected them as they save them. They heal them and lift them up while they try and cure this disease. The movie ends with the aliens thinking they finished and they leave us to our druthers, but one person was infected and is going to infect others. The movie ends on a farm of one of the main characters where they have the rest of the infected town behind a fence, and the main character that survives is wearing a gas mask with a shotgun and is waiting for the aliens to return. I think it's inventive. I think it's really good for what it is. Another pass on the script, maybe some editing in the final thing. It could be tightened up. I would really love to see them take this idea, flesh it out, and make a big budget Hollywood movie out of the idea. Sit down, and you're watching a zombie movie, and then halfway through, aliens are involved, and they're actually trying to save us. It could be really well done, that they had the idea in the first place. And you see some of that inventiveness in their movies that followed this one. Now, it's not going to get my highest recommendation because watching it again, I almost fell asleep in the middle of it. I mean, I've had some long days lately. Work has been long. It's all been good, but I'm a little tired, and I'm trying to watch some things so I can review some things. And I got this the other day, and I've been wanting to watch it, and I finally had time, and I watched, and like I said, I almost fell asleep. So anyway, Umbrella Corporation released this in Australia, but it's an all-region Blu-ray. So the movie looks pretty good. I don't know what it was filmed on. It looks like it's better than 16 millimeter, but maybe not. It's not digital. It looks a little fuzzy, but it looks a lot clearer than my DVD ever did. It really doesn't look bad. The special effects, I mean, considering the budget and the time, how they were done, not bad. I make allowances, right? That all of the gore is practical. Wise, super wise, great job. That stuff stands up and holds the test of time. As a 5.1 soundtrack, you can't choose anything else. You can choose subtitles, and there's some extras. The 5.1 was actually pretty darn good. Conversations, voices, most of the action is in the front, but there were a lot of panning effects as people would leave the room, would go into another room. You'd hear them off to the right or the left side. And the music. Great depth, it almost felt like they were playing music from another film. It goes with the movie well, I'm not saying that, but the recording, it just sounded so good compared to what was recorded live and afterwards, special effects and that kind of thing, for the rest of the soundtrack that wasn't music. I thought it all sounded good put together, but the music sounded wonderful. Glad it did, because this special edition from Umbrella Entertainment comes with a soundtrack on CD. I ripped it into my iTunes. I haven't listened to it yet. But overall, that package was a little over $20 from an eBay seller who had something else I wanted, a steelbook that was incredibly cheap. And I don't do a lot of that eBay stuff, but I read some reviews. I go on Blu-ray.com. You can search just by America or by different countries. So I searched for this release, and it confirmed that it was all region. It was a pretty darn good release. They didn't review it, but they had all the specs. So I got it, tested it out. And yes, if you want to import this movie in high def, do so. It came out in 2003. It's been out for a while. I don't know what streaming service is on. I think Vudu had a digital copy, but I really wanted a hard copy, and I was just shocked to see that there was a Blu-ray that I could play. Is it going to be one of your all-time favorites? I don't know. Is the original Evil Dead one of your all-time favorites? Maybe. This is two directors, young, trying some things, have a really great idea for a movie and a decent script and some great practical effects, and they go for it. And that gets kudos right there. I will watch that movie 100 times over, something that 12 writers and 4 directors and 2 studios hacked together to make something that would sell 1 billion copies. I am going to go see Black Adam this weekend. The reviews have been largely negative so far, but I like The Rock, and I keep hoping that DC is going to pull out another great movie. I'm sure this is not it, and I got to say the trailers haven't impressed me. I like the character, what I know about it. I like The Rock and he's giving his all for this movie, and I don't know why I got off on a tangent here. I guess because it's going to open tomorrow, and I'll get the review up in the next couple of days. But I don't know who's calling the shots over at DC. I watch these trailers. The Shazam 2 trailer looks as bad as Shazam 1 was, in my opinion. Now, Shazam was a fine movie, but it was a kid's movie. But again, off topic. I will watch a creative movie, no matter how low budget and no matter how good or bad it is, as long as it's genuine. You know, they're really trying really hard, and this is the best they could do, the best they could pull off given the money and the time and the talent involved. And in that respect, it's better than I could do with $1 million Australian, I'll tell you that. It was a creative idea. I was a little shocked when the movie ended. And I'm surprised that there's a decent Blu-ray copy out there. It's still a low-budget film, but looks great on Blu-ray. Sounds even better. You got a few extras on there that are worth checking out if you're into low-budget filmmaking. And this could be the beginnings of a great career. They've made 4 pretty good movies. 2 really good, 2 okay, and I can't wait to see what they do next. We'll see. Anyway, the Australian movie Undead from 2003. Seek it out and check it out if you're into movies like Peter Jackson and Sam Raimi's early work. This would remind you of that quite a bit. I'm Scott Hamilton. I'm ROCKFILE. My links are below. Have a spectacular day, and thank you for listening.